there's an easy way to do life.
Yeah.
And it is loving yourself and accepting yourself no matter what it is that comes out.
Welcome to Your Journey to Joy podcast. I'm your host, Moyra Gorski, and I'm on a mission to help you find joy in the chaos of life. As a retired nurse, multi-passionate entrepreneur, and mom of 4 adult children, I know what it's like to feel the overwhelm of it all and wonder if and when the joy will show up again. And I've learned it's up to us to go find that joy. On this show, you will hear inspiring stories from those who have overcome all kinds of life challenges, tips on how to stay healthy and vibrant during the ups and downs of life, and simple ways on finding joy in your own life. Let's face it, life is messy, yet when we travel together on this journey, support and encourage each other along the way, that joy starts to show up again. I'm so excited to lead you on this journey of you to find the joyful life that you deserve. Well, welcome to another episode of the podcast. I'm your host, Moyra Gorski. So glad you are here. I love days like this, and I say it most times I come on the podcast, is I meet so many women in my journey of life and networking in business. And when I meet somebody that I want to learn from because of things that I go through or have gone through, I know that she would be a great guest for our podcast. So today, Lisa Andria is joining us. I'm thrilled for that. She's an emotional transformation specialist. Again, she helps women. Can you relate to this? The stories inside of their head, their self-limiting beliefs, their lack of self-love and things like that. And she really helps women transform, rebuild trust within themselves. She hosts a wonderful podcast called Ladies Who Leap. So without further ado, Lisa, thank you for coming on my podcast today. I love it.
Thank you, Moyra. I'm really happy to be here, even at 8 o'clock in the morning.
That's right. That's right.
Wide awake and happy to talk.
Yeah, that's right. I'm so glad you're here and that you woke up today. Let's start with the beginning of how you found yourself to today and, why you're helping women. And so many people have a story. So I'd love to hear yours and have you share that with others.
Well, there's a lot to the story, but it's been a lifelong battle with fear of success, fear of being myself. So I would always be shape-shifting so people would like me. And a lot of it, and we'll talk about it as to where all of that comes from. It's childhood, it's past lives, it's generational trauma that comes through. I did have a good childhood, but I was picked on. I was the nerd. I went through high school. I moved in my senior year to a completely different culture from Connecticut to Santa Fe, New Mexico. Mm-hmm. And at that point, I started to understand what it is that I love to do because I always wanted to be Barbara Walters. And so I decided journalism was my thing. We moved to California. I got glasses. I got contacts. I grew my hair. I had dates for the first time. And I was supposed to go back to college to major in journalism. And the fear was so strong that I equated, and it took me 10 years to figure it out, but I equated going back to college to going back to being a nerd. And so I forgoed college, the whole thing, journalism. My mom said, go get a job with the phone company. And I did, and I stayed there 41 years.
Oh, dear Lord.
33 in one company, which was the whole Pacific Bell, SBC, AT&T. And then I had a couple jobs, one in particular with a certain company that I ended finally in December of 2022. But I'll tell you, October of 2018, I literally I cried twice with a boss. And I said, I'm in my early 50s. This is ridiculous. I was so burnt out and so stressed out. Even my dentist was like, you need to get another job. Your blood pressure is high. That's when they were taking your blood pressure during dentist appointments. And you're acting different. He goes, you need to do something different in your life. So I found money thanks to my financial advisor and some 401ks. And I took a 6-month sabbatical. And I thought, I'm going to write about reinventing myself because I had done that years before when my mom was sick. And then I thought, I'm going to interview some great women that have changed their lives by reinventing themselves. So that's how it started. And then I found out about life coaching. I had no idea what a life coach was. I didn't know. I thought, oh my gosh, if I had one of these in my 30s, I would have made different decisions. But then again, Everything happens for a reason. Your life is the way it is. You learn the lessons from everything that happened to you. And at that point, I had been divorced, gone through a couple relationships, and always focused on the other person, always had thought I could fix that other person, always tried to change myself so people would love or like me. And so I became a life coach. I started seeing clients and really helping them decide, do they want to retire? Do they want to change their job? What it is that they want to do, get the courage. And by the time I had to go back to work though, and by December of 2022, fully retired, lost my whole website, everything that had to do with reinvent yourself, which was a blessing because I completely changed and found the name Ladies Who Leap, which was leaping out of your comfort zone, which is exactly what I help women do. And then through that period, after having breast cancer and things, I ended up really understanding where people pleaser, where imposter syndrome, where not trusting others and attracting the wrong people in your life, all of that stems from not loving yourself. And I'll tell you, with the work that I do, and we'll talk about it, that is the number one reason that is a problem with women and even men, because I have worked with some men, and it's not loving themselves. Because think about it, if you don't truly love yourself unconditionally, you really cannot allow yourself to trust yourself so you don't trust others, so others won't trust you. You're going to keep wanting to please others because you can't please yourself. You don't love yourself the way you are. How are you going to be with other people and with the people coming into your life? You don't respect yourself as much. So how are people going to come into your life that respect you and treat you well? To me, it all stems from that.
Yeah, it really does. And I love your story, and I know even more why we have been connected. You know, I love to bring guests on that I can learn from, and then, you know, selfishly, and then others can learn. But I've gone through all of, you know, that. I grew up in a great home, but, you know, with 3 siblings, 2 older sisters and a younger brother. And I didn't realize this till later on in my life, like kind of what was going on there. But I always felt like I was different. I felt like it was different than my siblings. But I took it to believe that there was something wrong with me. And we were raised in a very conservative home. So we just did what our parents said. And we went to church, and we were very, we didn't drink, and we didn't do all those things. And we went to Bible study and Bible camp and all of that stuff. And albeit that's good, I felt like I didn't have, again, I've learned this. I felt like I didn't have a voice for me and who I was. And I learned, fast forward many, many years. And I was with my family for a graduation up in Michigan of my niece. And, to spare the whole story of the weekend, I just learned that weekend. I was like, oh my gosh, and it was like a simple, like, I'm going to go watch the sunset. We ended up renting the house that we had rented for many years up in Michigan for everybody to be housed at, because we had a bunch of family there, and it just made sense. And so I'd been there enough, and I was like, I'm going to go to the end of the street because there's a sunset on Lake Michigan. So I'm going to go watch the sunset. And there was things mentioned from my siblings and my parents. Oh, well, the sunset doesn't, set till 8:30, and it's only 8:00. I'm like, I know, I'm going to go down and watch the sunset. And I'm going to go sit on the bench. And so oh, aren't you going to have dessert? I'm like, no, I'm going to go watch the sunset, and then I'll have dessert later. And I was just like, I grabbed my glass of wine. I was drinking wine at the time, and I just went to the end, and people followed. My father, like, okay, I'm coming, munched the sugar, my mother. And we got to the end of the road, and one of my sisters said, that's not a bench. That's a piece of wood. I was like, oh my gosh. But I love my siblings. But you know what? They're very analytical. They're very cut and dry. Yes or no. A bench should be a bench, right? A couple of pieces of wood with a log on the top, or a log with a piece of wood on the top. Whatever. But it was so evident. And by several other things that were talked about that weekend, I'm like, I am different. And guess what? It's okay. It's okay that I'm different. And there's nothing wrong with me, but it's taken me a long time. That was I don't know, that was a long time ago, probably 20 years ago. It was a lot. And it continues to take me this time to really, but I can say I love who I am. And I have, because of the work that I've done and the study of Enneagram and different, again, podcasts and people that I like to be me, unique. Like you put me in a box, you say we all have to do it this way. I am going to either probably clam up or just start to cause trouble. Like, no, I don't really want to do that. I'll speak up or whatever. But for a long time, I didn't speak up. I love how you said we shape shift into who, we were talking about this weekend with my family, my husband and my daughter. And we were talking about one of my siblings who, again, I love, but she readily admitted that when she came into town, my parents are both passed, but she would come to visit. She lives in California, and she'd come to visit for just a few days. And she said, I just come in and I just act like so that she could please mom and dad. And then she goes home. I mean, it happens all of the time. And because of the theme of this podcast is joy, I truly believe, and again, my own experience, we can't really experience true joy and happiness and contentment unless we're really loving ourselves and knowing that we're all unique and we're all different and God made us all different, whoever you believe in, whatever, but we're all different and that's okay. And everyone wants to be seen, heard, and loved, regardless of who they are and how they are and things like that. So that's my story. But I heard like fear in there, codependent. I mean, we can name it. We can call it fear, codependency, people pleasing, like on and on. Like there's all of that. And as I think I've shared with you, like I'm a ballroom dance is one of my hobbies, and it shows up on the dance floor. And my instructor says, "Why do you second guess yourself all the time? Like you know what you're doing." Like you're doing it. And by the way, you don't have to get it perfect the first time. I'm teaching you a new step. So why don't you just practice it 20 times and then maybe you'll get it. But those limiting beliefs and the lack of self-love, and I got to do all of this sexy, flexy stuff. I know people can't see me, but it shows up there and it's been a journey. And that's why I stay there, because I know that dance lesson that I take and the competition that I'm going to be in tomorrow, or I'll be all, I got to do it to the nines. It's all part of my self-love journey.
Yeah, all of it. I mean, there's 8 billion people on this earth, 8 billion different, unique souls. And each one of us has a life, has a past, has whatever unique qualities we have. And we do need to embrace and love ourselves for whatever the warts and all, right? I like to say anything that it is that you have that's a problem, that you learn lessons from, whatever mistakes, whatever generational type of trauma that's come in and it's come down to you. I work a lot with the unconscious mind. So just to give you an idea, where does all of this come from, right? Your unconscious mind processes 2 million bits per second, whereas your conscious mind, 126. That's a big difference, right?
Yeah.
So your unconscious mind is kind of like a file cabinet. It pretty much is. Every experience you've had, usually before the age of 7, past lives, generational trauma, or not necessarily even just trauma, but decisions that they've made generations past, however many, 1, 2, 3, 4, going on, that they've now passed down from generations to the next person. Things that you experienced even in the womb, what you heard, maybe what was said, all of that gets stored in your unconscious mind. That's where the decision is made for a limiting belief. This is very concrete. It's very scientific. It is where you get those limiting beliefs. And sometimes, in fact, a lot of the times, you don't even know what's being said in your unconscious mind. You just know that when something happens, it triggers you. It gives you an overwhelming or a way of being angry or hurt, or guilt comes up, or shame, simply because of a tiny little thing happening, but it's triggering something in your unconscious mind that puts up that little file in your file cabinet and says, oh no, this is something negative. That's why they say what you think is what happens, right? What comes into your head and what you continue to think is what happens, because your unconscious mind has one of the prime directives is to take the easy route. And so if you're continually saying, I'm not pretty enough, or I'm not good enough, or I don't deserve this, then it's going to keep proving it to you outwardly, because that is what you're thinking. That is truly how you're behaving. And you may not even realize it. Again, now it's so funny because knowing all of this, I was watching this show. I do like to watch some reality shows. And one of them is Love is Blind, right? Because they're behind a blind place. And I watch them. Oh, I'm deciding there's these two guys and I don't know which one. And one of them is obviously going out of their comfort zone and is the right guy for them. And you can see it. And the other one is the same mistake they've made over and over and over again, and they can't see it. And I'm watching the show and I'm going, no, don't choose that one. This is the exact opposite, but you're attracting that person because you're continuously relating to having that limiting belief, even abandonment. That's the big one that comes up a lot for people. That particular thing is in your head. So you're choosing the people that reinforce those beliefs so that they continue over and over and over again. So
a couple of things there. I took again, some of the self-development courses that I've taken. One of them was now it just slipped my head, but the forum, whatever. Anyway, it doesn't matter. And again, people were sharing their stories, and this gal talked about how when she was a little kid, I mean, she came downstairs one morning and there were suitcases by the front door. And her dad was leaving her mother. And it was that simple, which of course wasn't simple, but it was that thing like men always leave. And so she was recounting all of these relationships that she had, that the men just left, and the men just left, and the men just left. And I truly believe that. I mean, when I went through some marital counseling in the first years of our marriage, that's what she did. The counselor, she was good in this regard, but we did like a whole genealogy, and we put everybody down from our parents and our grandparents and, siblings and all of that on both sides. And we talked about the relationships that they had and how they shared love and things like this is what I can remember. I mean, I've been married for 32 years. But it was very evident to me that, like, wow, again, that was the way the patterns were within the males and the females and the mother, and with my mom and dad and my aunt and my uncle and my grandparents. And it was just this pattern of very strong women and sometimes the men not being so strong and it was an interesting dynamic. And when I looked at my relationships that I had, not that the men weren't strong, but it ended up that the women had to take over at a certain point or go back to work. Like my grandfather decided to buy an 80-acre farm, like when my mom was in high school. My grandmother had to go back to work because it was, and my uncle, he just was a hairdresser and, this isn't he quit the job. And there's my aunt working. It was so evident to the point that it was repeating itself within who I was dating, my sisters were dating. I remember calling my sister over when she was, she had gotten divorced and she was dating. And I said, I just kind of mentioned something. She goes, I'm coming over to talk about that. She had never really talked about it, but we talked about that again, because it was a pattern that I was, you said, comfortable with. These guys that I dated, these couple of guys, they were great men. But they were in that it ended up that there was the same pattern. I dated this guy who was in construction. And when things were good, they were great, had jobs and money coming in. And then they'd be off work for a month. I'm like, well, dude, what are you doing? And we ended up living together. And so it was like, I had to take over. So when I met my husband, he was very different. And it was kind of scary for me because I was like, because he was a go-getter and let's do this and let's go live life and all of that. But it was different than what I was used to. And it was kind of scary. I was like, I don't know about this. But that's exactly who I needed in my life, as opposed to, again, repeating these patterns. Because both of my sisters got divorced and my aunt's divorced. Yeah, a lot of those relationships didn't work because of that. And so I'm happy, but again, it's tough, right?
Brought to you by Gorski Wellness and the possibility of a better you. Are you feeling sluggish? Ready for a change? Need more energy? Up for a bigger challenge? I'm Moyra Gorski, retired nurse and wellness advocate. For over 22 years, I've been helping people live healthier lives while making small changes each and every day. Those small changes lead my clients to living a healthier lifestyle with markedly better health. As a brand ambassador for the Shaklee Corporation, the most clinically proven wellness company in the world, I guide my clients to make healthier choices each day with their food, supplements, skincare, workouts, and mindset. They say getting started is half the battle. Let's make healthy happen together. If you're ready for simple, natural, sustainable solutions to feeling and looking your best, let's connect. You'll find a link in the show notes or reach out to me at moyragorski.com. Here's to a better you.
You're getting out of
Like
your
you said.
comfort zone. Yeah. The
Right.
comfort side is exactly what the decision was made in your head, or really in your generational heads.
Right.
The decision was made at some point that they weren't worthy enough to have someone in their life or be with someone who was as contributing to the financial aspect of their partnership than themselves.
Right.
That they had to take over. And that decision was made, gosh knows how far along in generations for you. And it kept getting passed down and passed down. And it really is a decision, because you can make a decision and a limiting belief can happen in a split second, just like that. Those packed, that woman with the packed suitcases, boom, that decision was made. But it can also go away in a second. If you can make a decision that becomes a limiting belief in a second, you can also get rid of it very quickly too. And it was for you, when you met your husband, you literally broke that pattern for you. But again, it was uncomfortable because it was out of your comfort, because your comfort zone, your unconscious mind was like, oh, no, this is not the right guy. This is very different. So I'm not in my comfortable place as your unconscious mind. But you broke through that, and that is a breakthrough, and that's fantastic. And as a result, you've been married for a long time, and you have a fantastic relationship. So it really goes back to that.
I mean, we do, and it's been a big learning curve for me too, because again, I still had those other examples in my life, some of them, and looking at that, but then like, wait a minute, I need to speak up. I mean, I was silent for a while, quiet for a long time, like not speaking up, because that's kind of the way I saw things. And so that's been part of my journey into really loving myself and standing up for, hey, this is me, and I have a voice that's valuable and worthy to be heard. And you might not agree with me, and that's okay. And can we be okay with that? Because again, I grew up in a family where it was just like, oh, we're all supposed to be happy and stuff like that. Well, it just doesn't. We can agree to disagree, and we can and like when I look at my 4 children, their beliefs and their ways of living are all different. A couple of them are the same and a couple of them are the same, but they're all different, and that's okay.
Yeah, not everybody's going to like you. Not everybody's going to like everything that you say. And if you do something that really hurts someone, you know that you can apologize, and if they don't accept it, hey, that means then maybe they're not supposed to be in your life, and that's on them. Right. Because 8 billion people, 8 billion different unconscious minds, 8 billion different limiting, multiply it, right? We have a lot of limiting beliefs. But what I do, and so I don't know if we want to get into
let's go
how
into
do you
that.
get rid of it?
Because
now we've established what it is.
Yeah, let's talk about how you help people change it.
Yeah. So the first thing is recognizing that it's even happening. Unfortunately, our awareness sometimes isn't at a level where we even realize that it's truly in our own mind that's the reason that we're being treated this way. Whereas we always look to the other person, which is kind of like playing the victim. So if you're able to now at least get out of that and understand that I am the reason that I'm attracting these people into my life. It is actually something inside of me that needs to be changed, and a mindset that I need to change rather than changing everybody around me. That's the first step, is really recognizing that. How you recognize that? It's difficult. You have to actually make a conscious decision to think about what's happening in your life and to want to change it, want to transform. Once you get that spot where you go, okay, my life just keeps repeating itself, and I keep thinking negatively about myself, and I keep getting into the wrong relationships, or the wrong jobs, working for the wrong companies, for the wrong bosses. Things just keep happening over and over, and just stopping for a moment and going, okay, something needs to change. That's the decision that needs to be made. And one of the things I say on a conscious level is when you start hearing the negative talk in your head, because a lot of times you can actually hear it. You can hear yourself going, oh, I'm not good enough to do that. Oh, I can't do that. I don't have the confidence for that. I don't have the courage for that. Oh, I wouldn't do that well. To actually say to yourself, and I came up with this thing, plug the hose, because it's like a hose that just keeps flowing and it doesn't stop. And if you at least can be conscious of it and go, okay, plug the hose, either in your head, because if you're out in public, that might sound a little funny, or out loud if you're home and you're trying to think of what you want to do next in your life or the next job you want to get, plug the hose. That's a conscious way of doing it. And a lot of people have that kind of work, positive affirmations, journaling about what you're grateful for, because being grateful for even the small things bring you joy. These are all conscious things that you can do. And then actually thinking about or talking to even your mom or your dad. And one of the things that I do before I do what I'll tell you about is reframing. So if some person or people treat you a certain way, it's you actually, if you're looking at yourself going, I've made these mistakes, therefore I've lied, I've done some white lies, so I'm a liar. No, you are not defined by your mistakes. You can make a huge bunch of mistakes in your life, and you can be an amazing person and kind and empathetic, and you can still be a good person as a whole. We can be bad and good at the same time. It's okay. So reframing that and understanding and giving yourself some grace and counting your blessings, even putting in your journal every day, what is it that I did to help someone today? What is it that I did great today? So embracing your own greatness. These are conscious things that you can do on a daily basis. The unconscious mind is a whole nother thing. And I've been trained through neuro-linguistic programming, it's NLP for short, by a Dr. Matt James. And he has created over the last 25 years and really perfected it, a full script, and it's called Mental and Emotional Release. And there is other people that have done this. It's called timeline therapy. And it literally puts you into a place where you can see your past and future and present in your mind, however you think, visually, kinesthetically, where you feel it, auditory, where you hear things. And I take you through and talk to your unconscious mind after I've discovered through a really in-depth conversation about your life's history and certain questions that are asked in a way that you may not even understand, but your unconscious mind understands the question. And I tell them, do not think about this. It's hard with those left brain people. I've had some left brain clients and it's taken a little time. Trust your unconscious mind. The very first thought or feeling, whatever comes into your head, give me that as the answer. May not make sense, but it will in the end. And I have them, I figure out their greater problem. Like I said, most of the time it's, I don't love myself. I'm not worthy. Sometimes it's, I should have never been born. So there are some pretty heavy things that it comes down to. There's all kinds of other limiting beliefs, but I say it like if you're thinking like a little bucket where there's a whole bunch of limiting beliefs, and at the bottom is the very root cause as to what makes sense. If this was cleared, everything else would be cleared and released. I call it your bag of rocks. You've been carrying it around your whole life. I carried it around for over 60 years, and I really want to help women get rid of it well before 60 years. And so it's timeline therapy.
I like that.
Yeah. And so, and when you release it, it's released quickly. Like 20 years of suffering can be released in 20 minutes for each particular. I start with, we're trained to start with specific emotions in a specific order, starting with anger. You have to clear that one, then you go to the next, which then once you clear that, you go to the next. He got his doctorate through the analysis of this and wrote the book and had a lot of case studies. It took 3 years to get the book published because they had to go to every single person that he had worked with. And we're talking about PTSD. We're talking about huge amounts of trauma. And this was all cleared by doing this timeline therapy. And there's more to it. I do some hypnosis to really lock in everything in the end, and also some what we call Ho'oponopono, which is the guided meditation for forgiveness. Because when you're going through a process like this, people in your past will come up, people in your present will come up, and you want to forgive them because forgiveness is for you. So it's a whole step, it's a big step. It is a major part of what I do. I do other things because there's 4 requisites for change. If you want to transform, you first have to get rid of those voices in your head. The second one is you got to set your goals. What is it that you're going to accomplish so that you can transform your life, whatever it may be, personally, professionally. And then you have to actually take action steps because it's not magic. You actually have to do something. But now you're in a position where you believe that you can do it, where you know that you can do it, where you don't have to worry about other people, external validation. What are they saying? Oh my gosh, if I do this, somebody's going to laugh at me. No, you are ready to go. And then, of course, the last step is focus, follow through, even a little bit of boundary setting, of course, and manifesting and all of that, even some woo-woo in there, But that's, And I help with all those steps in my full program.
Which is great. I mean, I love all of that. So good. So many, and I'm sure you've helped and you will help so many people. And, I did a mindfulness-based stress reduction course, read the book, The Catastrophic Living, right? John Cabot, however you say, it's right over there in my thing. Or full catastrophe living anyway. But the first key was like awareness. That's what you said. It's like, it's that awareness. I mean, I heard from the pulpit one time, 2 things that I heard from the pulpit. One was a long time, but you can't fix what you cannot face. And just this Sunday, I tried out this new church, and the pastor was talking about the rocks that we carry around. I mean, literally, that's what he said when you said the rocks. But it's true. And he said, when are you going to put down the rock? When are you going to put it down? A coach of mine said, when are you going to turn around and walk into your future forward? So many people walk into their future backwards because they're afraid of when they're looking at the past, right? All of these things, the limiting beliefs. And she would say, when are you going to turn around, and just walk straight ahead into your future. So good. And again, not easy work. And,
it's actually easier than you would think. Because once you've gotten because I work with getting your unconscious mind into a place where it accepts that it will take the lessons, preserve the learnings that you had from whatever event, the very first original event, whenever it was, past lives, generational, in the womb, before 7 years of age. And they tell me, the unconscious mind literally tells me when that first event is. And once it's cleared, it's instantaneous. And then part of the process, then it actually preserves the learnings and it knows, hey, whatever I need to learn from this event, I'm good. Okay. So I have to get buy-in literally by the unconscious mind to say, okay, I'm preserving the learnings. I'm going to move ahead now without having to feel that trauma and without having to have that limiting belief. And then going forward, part of the process is clearing all the subsequent events, all the things that happened in your life that were triggered by this event and clearing all of those. And in the limiting beliefs, part of that process is reevaluating that decision. So changing the decision you had. So one of the phrases that I say is, I want you to look back at an event that happened in the past, and had you loved yourself, which is one of the things decision we just cleared, things might have been different. And so go back and kind of reevaluate that so that you actually do love yourself, and you understand that particular event would have been different. You reevaluate all the events that happen. And it can take sometimes. And there are other things. Sometimes there's a blockage because remember, your unconscious mind wants to hold on to things so strongly. And sometimes it takes a bit more convincing, and I'm trained to be able to get through that. Everybody's different on how long it takes, how easy it is for them, but it's not where you have to relive it. I always say the difference between therapy and coaching is that therapists, like you said, look back. I don't want to do this anymore. And so they look in the past, they look at what has happened to them, what they fear, why these fears are happening now. Whereas a coach says, okay, let's get rid of all of that and let's move forward. I want you to always be looking forward. What is it that you are looking towards, not looking away from? And that to me is the difference between therapy and coaching. And it took a while for me to understand that, even as I was being trained and working with clients and stuff. But when you start seeing patterns that come up and understanding the awareness, I actually do first with my clients an assessment. It's an ontological assessment tool that came out of Australia from this one guy who's a philosopher and spent 10 years studying successful people. He's an amazing person. If you just look up being profile, you can see what it is. But it is an assessment tool that gives you a readout of 31 aspects of being, and it is a healthy score. It's not setting it in stone. It's for transformative. So it's kind of like a snapshot in time. Basically, it is a snapshot in time. From 1 to 10 of your healthy or unhealthy score with each of these aspects of being. And the very first one is awareness.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It judges how aware you are of yourself in the world, how people see you. There is, because the top 3 are awareness, integrity, like from a table, from the aspect of a table with 3 legs and one of them's too short. Are you a whole? Are you have overall good well-being? And then the third one being effectiveness. And that's actually a score that comes from all the other aspects of being, because that will tell you how effective you are in your life, in your work. And then there's only 4 moods that he included, because those can suppress or amplify any of your aspects of being, right? Which is fear, anxiety, care, because what you care about or how you care for yourself or for others is what you focus on. And then the last one being my favorite, vulnerability, which has always been my lowest score. I fully admit it. So I'm aware of it. And it's even being aware of it is still, for me, I have a lot of, I still have work to do on that side of vulnerability. But yeah. It's fascinating.
It is fascinating. Again, I love all this work because I'm deep in the midst of it and I've done a lot of it. But yeah, that vulnerability piece, that's what I told my dance instructor last week when he was, again, we're working on a different style than I'm used to competing in. With rhythm, and there's a lot of arm styling, and there's a lot of styling and sexiness, as he calls it. And there's a lot of and again, I think these are all unconscious things that I have done. He's like, just don't look down. And I'm like, I don't look down. I don't turn my head down. He goes, no, but you check yourself all the time, with the floor. And he says, you just got to look up and look at me and stuff like that, which again is good. But I said to him last week, I go, I swear to God, you're looking into my soul when you just look at me. And again, he's so patient and all. He's a great instructor, but it's that he's looking, but I feel vulnerable when he's looking at me, and he's not judging me at all. He, on the other hand, that's what I've learned from these dance instructors. They are like a wonderful coach who believes in you, who holds space for, just like you do. And what I try to do with my business too is we hold space for people to be all that they can be. And all of my instructors have been that. But it's, again, this vulnerable piece of I'm you can see right in here. But if you can face that I'm just speaking for myself, when I can face that vulnerability and accept it and just relax into it and say, he goes, just do it. You know what to do, and just believe in yourself, love yourself enough, all of that. So that vulnerability piece too is,
Yeah, because just like your example, and I just did a little TikTok video because I think of things and I just walk my dog and talk about it on TikTok on Lisa A. Coach. I was talking about the fact that perfectionism, but when you just ease and flow, when you just get into the flow of what you're doing and you forget about any external validation, anybody else and their ideas, that's when you do your best work, whatever, painting, writing, dancing, whatever it is. When you allow that, you think back and you're like, oh yeah, when I wasn't thinking about worrying about myself and how I looked, it really just flowed and everything came out effortlessly. And it's like, oh my God, there's an easy way to do life. Yeah. And it is loving yourself and accepting yourself no matter what it is that comes out.
Yeah. And I think, again, it's key to have people hear that again. It's that external validation. We live in this world of we're getting a prize, we're getting that validation, we're getting the award, we're getting this, we're winning the race. If anything, that's what I learned in ballroom dance. It's not about, unless you're a pro and you're trying to, but it's about showing up. And thank you for reminding me of that, because I'll keep that in mind tomorrow. It really is about, the ease and flow and again, just doing the best I can do. Yes, I'm going to get judged. There are judges over there that are going to give me a score, and I'm going to be in a championship round and hopefully get a place in that and maybe win some money, $100 or something. But it is about showing up, and then next time if I compete in rhythm, it's like, I'm going to do a little bit better than, the last time because I worked on this. Okay. And as Norbert says, we've worked on this for 6 months. So just go and let's see what we can do in a competition. My daughter reminded me, it's kind of like a swim meet when you go, because she swam when she was growing up. I mean, yes, you want to win the race, but it's like when you go and do another race, can you do a little bit better than you did the last time? Can you take a half a second off? Can you take 5 seconds off or whatever? Can you just get a little bit better the next time? Yeah, you may, again, win. You may get a top score or something, but it's about just getting a little bit better the next time. And
the more relaxed you are, I mean, I sing, the more relaxed I am, the more I'm sure of myself, the better it all works out, the better I sound. It's a whole different story. I mean, when people do the breakthrough sessions, literally, they look different before it starts to after it's done. They have more color in their face. They're like, oh my God, why did I ever think this way? And sometimes they completely forget about that negative limiting belief so much that they don't even realize that this is the path that they took to release it. Sometimes I have to remind them. They go, oh, I'm just doing so great and everything. And I go, yeah, remember we actually did some work. Oh yeah, that's right. I have to almost remind them because it's so much of a thought that has literally released out of their unconscious mind that they can't even grasp that they felt that way before. And when they come to this realization, it's just so wonderful. I had a woman who had migraine headaches since she was 10 years old and she was in her 50s, her every day. And it was debilitating. I mean, it affected her job, her work, her family, everything. And when I talked to her, I said, there's something there. She goes, I had tried everything, all doctors, taking medications, everything, and it didn't make a difference. And the key that she told me was, well, my mom and my grandmother have the same issue. I was like, oh boy, here we go. I could literally see that this was generational and had more to it than just physical because the mind and body connection is extremely strong.
Sure.
Extremely strong. And so I put her through I convinced her, let's go. And I put through the breakthrough session. She hasn't, this was October of last year. She has not had a headache since. And she's been through some heavy trauma. Her mom was sick, then passed away. She has children that have some issues. She has not had that come back. She's had other things and we've worked on it. Whenever she needs help, she just gives me a call and we see each other. She's actually local. But she has not had the headaches come back. Yeah. And that's a pretty heavy duty extreme case. Other people just changed their lives where they didn't have the guts to make phone calls to people that would be, let's say, a client, because I've coached some coaches. And after the breakthrough session, not only were they calling them, they're making the appointments, they're feeling confident. I look at their posts and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is a whole different person. And they're like, yes, I am. Thank you so much, And then so then they make more money. So then it brings in more money because they're able to feel confident about what they do. Even myself, when I made that transition to truly loving myself unconditionally, all of a sudden I was a different person. All of the heartfelt reasons why I like to help people easily and effortlessly come out when I talk to people. And then they go, oh, this is the person that I can trust to be able to help. Yeah.
Yeah. That's great. So good. So good. Thank you, Lisa, so much. Let's tell people where they can find you so that, because I'm sure many will want to look you up. And I have been following you on TikTok too. I tried to stay away from TikTok. But
I know there might be some changes, so I may have to move that, and move it to another channel. But for me, I think it's fine. Mine is all uplifting, positive information that can help you on a daily basis. I'm at ladieswholeap.com. Very simple. Ladies who leap, LEAP, like you're leaping out of your comfort zone. And there's a lot of information about what I do, client testimonials. Also, in the upper right corner, it says, let's connect. And that would be just make a call. Let's just meet each other and talk. And then you can meet me and understand me, and I can understand more about you. And we can see if we're both the right fit to work with each other. Because, you really have to feel comfortable with someone to be able to talk about some pretty heavy duty things in your life that you do need to have cleared and what's going on. And yeah.
Right. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much for that. And so I got so much, I took so many notes here, and I know my audience will love it as well. Any last words, any last tips for those that are listening that you'd like to leave?
Well, just understanding that if you love yourself truly unconditionally, everybody around you is going to love you the same way.
It's powerful. Yeah. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you for being here with me today. I truly appreciate it. Look forward to being a part of your Ladies Who Leap community as well. I'm just so glad to be introduced to you. And again, audience, thanks for listening. Please share these as you do. Please share your feedback with us so that we can continue to encourage other people to know that they can choose joy. They can have joy in their life. It may take some work, but we truly can have joy in our lives and live our best lives each and every day. So thanks for listening, and we'll catch you next time.
Hey there, ready to live a more joyful life? Considering connecting with someone who can help you? If so, I'd like to be that person. I offer a free consultation where we determine where the chaos is in your life and how you can learn to bring more joy each and every day. Visit my website, moyragorski.com, or simply email me, moyra@moyragorski.com, with more joy in the subject line. I look forward to connecting, and I'm here to say there will always be some chaos, which requires a little juggling, but you can find joy and live your life intentionally filled with that joy. Let me help you on your journey to joy. And that's joy, the journey of you.